truth I want to share with you today, and it's this. Everything that you're worried about today, it's going to be gone just like that. The concern that you have about what people think about you, it's going to be gone tomorrow. It's going to be gone just like that. So what you should be focusing on is the thing that you're doing, that you're meant to be doing, and focus on that each and every day, getting better on that each and every day. Everything else is pretty much a waste of time.
Welcome back to the Amplified Life podcast, where we are uncovering the strategies, mindsets, routines that you need to amplify your life, your leadership, your business, career, relationships, health, and more. And we are going back to our roots for when the podcast first started, that these podcasts are going to be short, simple, yet full of impactful, actionable strategies and techniques that you can use and implement right away after you listen to the podcast. So that's what we're diving in today. And today, I want to share with you the story of Jerry Seinfeld. So many of you know Jerry Seinfeld. He's one of the most iconic comedians, and he had the show Seinfeld. He's also won Grammys and Emmys and had his award-winning sitcom and books. And he's a nationally recognized stand-up comedian. And he writes so many jokes for so many of the shows that you see behind the scenes, producing films and so much more. But he wasn't an overnight success or an overnight miracle. You see, Jerry Seinfeld's career can be categorized as a masterclass in discipline and consistency. Early in his career, he adopted a really strategic approach and disciplined approach to writing jokes. His goal was to write jokes every day. Now, the strategy that he implemented was twofold, and I'm going to share that with you. And then there's a few takeaways, which I'll highlight for you here, which are consistency beats quality. Discipline is the path of freedom. You know, you've heard me say that before, because at the Amplified Life Company, one of our core beliefs is disciplines and systems is the unlock to the freedom that you seek in your life. The third thing is focus on the process, not the outcome. The fourth thing is small wins build momentum. And lastly, the fifth thing, and the thing I love the most, is he makes his competition irrelevant. So how does he do this? And why am I talking about Jerry Seinfeld and telling jokes and writing jokes as it relates to your life and your leadership? Well, because like I said, whether you're a business owner, a creative, or just trying to reach your next goal, I want you to remember, this is so important. Showing up every single day at your best, focusing on what you need to focus on, is really the path from good to great. It's from this level of success to your next level of success. When you focus on the process, over time, success follows. Jerry Seinfeld, I was doing some research as we are researching for high performance and what high performance means today. By the way, way more to come on that. It's a research project that we're doing as we're up-leveling our coaching and training programs for our corporate clients within the Amplified Life Company. But researching Jerry Seinfeld, he said this. He said, everything you're worried about is going to be gone just like that. All this concern about what people think about you, it's going to be gone. Your only focus should be on getting better at what you're doing. Focus on what you're doing. Get better at what you're doing. Everything else is a complete waste of time. And as you think about that, and as I contemplated on that quote and thought about what that meant in my life and my leadership, I've been in leadership for 2 decades now, so 20 years, and things in leadership have really changed. What we have coming at us as leaders now is so much more than what we've ever had to deal with. And so we need to change and grow and shift as leaders. Our old management strategies, I know the ones that I learned 20 years ago, are not really even in play anymore. And so let's dive back in to Jerry Seinfeld. I just wanted to give that little caveat to recognize that things are hard as leaders, and it is challenging to be a leader today. But there are things that you can do, just like what I'm sharing today about Jerry Seinfeld's story. So let's dive right back into it. So like I was saying, he wasn't an overnight miracle, but he adopted this approach that was very strategic and methodical to writing jokes. His commitment was he was going to write jokes every day. Now, you see, he wasn't saying that he was going to write 20 jokes a day. He was going to write the best jokes every day. No, he was just committed to writing jokes. So two big things that he did to develop this consistency and this discipline. The first one is he would go into a room that had nothing in it. No TV, no distractions, no anything. And he would set a timer. All he would have would be paper and pen, and he could just write jokes. That's it. Sometimes the jokes flowed very easily, and sometimes they didn't at all. Sometimes they were horrible jokes. Sometimes they were his best work. But there was no pressure on good or bad, right or wrong, how many. It was, this is my time, and I'm going to write jokes today. And I'm going to do this every single day. Because here's the thing, is he had so many reps. That's what made him great. The second thing that he did in his strategic, methodical approach to writing jokes was he had a big, huge calendar. And this was a visual representation. And I think he called it like the don't break the chain method. So he hung this calendar on his wall. You know, I'm really getting obsessed right now with those big, like huge calendars. I think I want to get one. I don't know if Joel will be into that because I already have those big, like sticky papers hanging on the wall near one of my bookshelves in our room. But anyway, I digress. So his don't break the chain method. It wasn't about writing perfect jokes every day, but he would put a red X day after day after day after day as this visual representation of him keeping consistent. And over time, his goal, again, it wasn't to be perfect or write the best jokes. He was simply trying to be consistent. And that's what made all the difference. He rid himself of any distractions. He focused on the thing that he was focusing on, that he needed to get better on. And it, in turn, brought these 5 things. The first thing is consistency beats quality any day. Oftentimes, we're so worried about what other people will think and making things perfect. Sometimes it even stops us from showing up completely. So whether it's writing jokes or working on your business or practicing a skill, making that phone call, having that conversation, you'll get better and better the more you show up, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Consistency beats quality every time. The second thing is discipline is the path to freedom. If you want something, create a discipline and a system around it. While it may sound like backwards or contradictory to many people, discipline is really the pathway to freedom. Because if you are disciplined, that means that you're keeping your commitments to yourself. That means that you're showing up. That means that you're getting better. If you focus on getting 1% better every single day, at the end of the year, you'll be 37% better, which is going to be so much better than 99% of the people out there that are not disciplined, that are distracted, that are worried about what people think, that are constantly consuming, constantly changing, and not going all in on their jokes or whatever your thing is. Jerry's was his jokes. So discipline is the path to freedom. And in turn, this focus really opens the door to more creativity, productivity, impact, and income. Third thing, focus on the process and not the outcome. Jerry Seinfeld was not focused on a certain outcome. He was focused on consistently showing up, being undistracted to write jokes, sitting down and writing even when it felt hard, because guess what? The greatest things in life are going to feel hard. Sometimes things feel hard, but I love to use just this method. If something feels hard and you don't want to do it and you want to procrastinate, but you know that you're meant to do this, give yourself 5 minutes. Start doing it for 5 minutes. Just commit to 5 minutes. I'm sure Jerry Seinfeld did this many a times, because what happens after you commit to the 5 minutes is that you get into this state of flow and you really start working, especially when you're working undistracted. So sitting down and writing, the shift from outcome, so I need to write this number of jokes, or they need to be this perfect, or they need to be like this. The shift from outcome to process helps reduce the pressure that we put on ourselves and keeps you moving forward. It builds momentum, and momentum really is when life is going to show up, possibilities, opportunities, all of those things are going to come to us, what we really truly want. It's when we stay stagnant and our energy is low that things are not attracted to us. So the fourth thing, small wins build momentum. So you could still Jerry Seinfeld's don't break the chain method, and it is freaking brilliant because it's just this visual proof of progress. He would put X on the days and you can see your consistency. And so in those days that we talked about that feel hard, you can look and you can see, I have done this for X number of days. I am committing to not breaking the chain. It reminds me of my best friend, Crystal, who wears one of those Apple watches. And she, at one point in her life, she's in really great shape now, but she had gotten out of shape. So she made the commitment to close her rings every single day. And I think she's closed her rings for like 3 years now. And while she's done so many other things to up-level her health and her well-being and her business and her relationship and her family and all of the things, it's still something that she looks at each and every day as one of her measurements of success, because she knows small wins each day build momentum. The same thing with Jerry Seinfeld. So don't break the chain. Lastly, and like I said, this one is my favorite. So Jerry focused on his own growth and his own consistency. And because he did this, he made his competition irrelevant. He wasn't looking at what other people were doing or trying to change gears or switch places. He wasn't trying to beat anybody else. He was showing up and competing with himself every day. And this mindset is what helped him develop his unique voice and stay ahead of the curve. You see, what happens often is we're looking at what other people are doing in their life, in their leadership, in their business, in their career, with their teams. And we start trying to emulate that, but then that constant consumption that happens, something else comes in and we're like, oh, we better change or shift to this. And it breeds distrust in our teams. It brings lack of clarity because we're not focused on the thing that we should be focused on. We're so worried about what's happening externally, where if we can bring it back in and start looking at what do we need to do, where are we at, how can we get better every day, how can we focus on one thing, this mindset, without having to have an outcome mindset, but it's more of a process mindset. You get better and better. You become an expert for experts. You make the competition irrelevant because you've done so many reps. The old saying, practice makes perfect. It still rings true. The more and more I speak on stage, the better and better I get. The more and more I do coaching calls with executives and leaders, the better I get at leading them, at guiding them. So again, as we close, I want you to think about this in your life. And the 5 takeaways are: consistency beats quality. Discipline is the path to freedom. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Small wins build momentum, and make the competition irrelevant because you're no longer focusing on them. You're focusing on you, and showing up each day with discipline and consistency is what separates the good from the great. And we all want to reach our next level of greatness. So focus on the process, and over time, success will follow. Thanks for listening. And as always, if you enjoyed the podcast episode this week, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't left a review or one in a long time, please leave a review and go ahead and text this over to a friend that you think might need it.